In this video, you will learn how to compare inequality with heat. To compare the situation in one country of interest with the situation in other countries, click on Compare Inequality in the blue band at the top of the page. You will see that there are two subtabs under Compare Inequality. One tab for disaggregated data and one tab for summary measures. In this subtab, you can do benchmarking using disaggregated data. As you can see, the menu on the left is the same as before, and now you also have the option to select benchmark countries. By default, all countries from the same country income group and WHO region as the country of interest are selected. So in this case, Indonesia is automatically compared to other middle income countries from the Southeast Asia region. You can use the menu to filter by country income group and add, for example, low income. You can also use the menu to filter by WHO region and add, for example, the Western Pacific region. Depending on what filters you have applied, you can add countries from the selected income groups and WHO regions. In this case, you can add low-income countries and countries from the Western Pacific region: Cambodia, Lao People's Democratic Republic, Mongolia, Nepal, Philippines, Vanuatu, and Vietnam. You can also choose the number of years by which data from benchmark countries can vary from data from your country of interest. By default, 2 years are selected. Data for Indonesia come from 2012, which means that data for benchmark countries can come from 2010 to 2014. If you select 0, then years will be limited to 2012. If you select 5, then years will be limited from 2007 to 2017. Let's look at the graph and do some benchmarking for Indonesia. Here you have coverage of births attended by skilled health personnel shown on the x-axis, and benchmark countries with information about the data source and year shown on the y-axis. You can see your country of interest, Indonesia, at the top, and you can clearly see the gap in coverage that exists between economic status quintiles. But comparing Indonesia to other low and middle income countries from the Southeast Asia and Western Pacific regions, you can also see that there are other countries where the gaps are much larger, such as Lao People's Democratic Republic and Nepal, and that there are countries where the gaps are much smaller, such as Mongolia and Thailand.
Let's move on to look at the situation using summary measures of inequality. Click on the Summary Measures Graphs subtab. In this scatter plot, you have the national average on the x-axis and the level of inequality as measured by the difference on the y-axis. In fact, it is very important to take both into consideration when doing equity analysis. National averages give a good picture of the overall situation in a country, but looking at inequality identifies who gets left behind. Together, national average and inequality give a more complete assessment of the situation than either in isolation. Here, your country of interest is displayed in red and your benchmark countries are displayed in blue. If you want to know which country is which, you can change the graph style in the left panel from points to labels, and each country will be shown as the ISO 3 code in the graph. Now you can do some benchmarking. When you look at the x-axis, you can see that Indonesia has relatively high coverage. On average, coverage is about 85%. There are a few countries with higher national coverage, such as Mongolia and Thailand. But there are also countries with lower national coverage, such as Bangladesh, Lao People's Democratic Republic, and Nepal. In terms of inequality, you can see that there is a fair level of inequality in Indonesia, almost 40 percentage point difference in coverage between the richest 20% of the population and the poorest 20% of population. However, there are a few countries with lower level of inequality, such as Mongolia and Thailand. And there are countries with larger levels of inequality, such as Lao People's Democratic Republic and Nepal. You can also select another indicator or inequality dimension. For example, if you select demand for family planning satisfied, you can see that the situation is quite different. Indonesia is among the countries with the highest national average and the lowest level of inequality.